What kind of garbage is that? How can we win the war on cancer? What kind of nonsense is that? Well, keep in mind, there are lots of populations that hardly have any cancer. We go back 50 years in this world, we see almost no cancer in certain populations. And even today, in today's society, so there's a 50-fold differences between one country and another. There's even tremendous differences within this country. If one area of the country to another area of this country, we have 10-fold differences of cancer rates, even people who live in one part of this country to another part of this country. How could we say we can't control the amount of cancer? It's happening all the time. So you have 3 per 100,000 in some of these areas, and you have in the United States and England more than 120 per 100,000. That's, that's almost 30 times higher rate of cancer, or 40 times higher rate of cancer, right? And the countries with the highest rate of breast cancer are the countries that consume a lot of dairy products. Eat the most dairy, the most meat, the most barbecue, the most processed foods. You get more cancer accordingly, of course. And here's just a slide of the amount of produce consumed in blue, the percent of calories of produce by a country. And this slide is not a slide produced at 2010 or 2020 statistics. Well, it isn't even 2020 yet, so couldn't have got those statistics anyway. But it's based on 1970 statistics. I had to go back to 1970 to be able to find countries that are eating enough produce, because now we've exported American way of life all over the world, and we don't have countries eating that much produce anymore. But when we go back to 1970, we find certain countries eating more produce, and those countries did not have much cancer. The more produce they ate, the less cancer they had. Perfect relationship if you go back in time before the fast food industry spread across the world. Because you can drive down in Laos and in Cambodia and rural China, and you can see, they could see whatever you want. The Kentucky fake chicken is right there. McCancer and Burger Hut and Drunken Donuts. You see all these things right there in the places. Didn't want to insult anybody with their real names. But anyway, so the foods with the strongest link to cancer are foods that have toxins and are processed, and the World Health Organization classifies processed meats and fried fast foods as a Class 1 carcinogen. Class 1 means a definite carcinogen, in the same category as asbestos and cigarette smoking. We know these foods are and people are eating these carcinogenic foods all the time. Right? When you fry a food, God, it's like insane. You might go to a fast food restaurant and you're eating a food that's been fried in oil where the oil's been cooking all day, causing rancid carcinogenic changes. You know what? It's been even shown to cause cancer if you don't even eat the food. Just working in a fast food restaurant, just inhaling the fumes from the cooking of the oil causes cancer. And the people working there, even if they never even ate the stuff. It's even dangerous to work in a movie theater and inhale the fumes that come out of the fake popcorn fat. But just the fumes that come into the air is dangerous enough. But those oils, you're eating foods with oils that have been heated that are mutagenic. They cause genetic defects to your DNA that can be passed on to future generations. We have an explosion in autism and childhood cancers and all these issues because we're damaging the eggs in the person's body, and what you eat doesn't just affect your own health. If you're a woman who is still going to give birth in the future, what you eat is going to affect the birth of your unborn child, even if you're not pregnant right now. Because those eggs are in there with you right now, living with you if you're somewhat younger. Now, mTOR signaling is raised in all cancers. It's elevated in all cancers. We know what raises mTOR. We know what pushes cancer cells to start to become crazy and haywire. And we know what prevents it from, So we know that one of these important factors we're talking about today is protein restriction. It's really not protein restriction. It's animal protein restriction. It means get your protein from plants, so you're not taking in much biologically complete protein. And if you really want to get cancer, I'll tell you how you can concentrate the animal protein by taking protein shakes and protein drinks and eat the egg whites instead of the whole egg, because when you remove the yolk of the egg, you have more animal protein in the egg white. You take the skim milk, which is more prostate cancer causing, the skim milk or the whole milk? The skim milk. You took out the fat, you're eating more animal protein there. More animal protein, more prostate cancer. Keep driving after protein. Go to the gym and get these trainers to tell you to go home and eat some tuna fish. Keep getting more protein in to build more muscle. You're going to build more cancer at the same time. We want to be fit and strong, and a lot of world-class and professional athletes are following my Nutritarian advice right now. To get well, to extend their career, to age slower, they maintain muscle strength. They're not going to gain 50 pounds. They're not going to be 250 pounds, but they're top tennis players in the world, top basketball players, world-class skiers, one world-class skier, was in 4 Olympic Games following a Nutritarian diet. He didn't do it to make him ski faster. He did it so he can compete for 20 years in 4 Olympic Games because he can age slower. Did you follow that? And the benefit to the athlete isn't that they're not going to jump higher and run faster so much. That's going to be the same. They're not going to lose any jump. They might lose a little weight and jump higher. They're not going to lose their athletic ability. They'll maintain all their muscle mass. They'll be just as fit. But the major advantage is they don't get sick anymore. So they don't get a viral infection. They're not stuck in bed for a week. They're going to be able to keep training, and they're not going to get less oxidation, more anti-inflammatory effects. They're going to feel better. They're going to be healthier. They're going to prolong their career. They're going to age slower, like Tom Brady. You follow me? You know what we're talking about here. We're talking about Roger Federer just winning the Australian Open at 36 because he doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, he doesn't eat candy, he doesn't eat cookies, he doesn't put oil on his foods. He's a health nut. He travels with a Vitamix. He makes the green smoothies. He's eating his kale. You know, these guys all the top tennis players they don't stay up late at night. They go to sleep. They get their rest. They eat real healthy. They love playing. They love their careers. And it's working. That's how Venus Williams was off the tennis tour with Sjogren's syndromes and autoimmune conditions. She changed her diet, right, following a Nutritarian style diet, and she got rid of her Sjogren's syndrome and back playing tennis again, prolonging her career. Therapeutically, why doesn't our population get this? And extending the catabolic phase, which I'm talking about more tomorrow, because that means the extending the catabolic phase of the digestive cycle, which means eating less frequently, because the body heals and repairs tissue when you're not eating food and not digesting. For example, here's a study called the Women's Healthy Eating and Living Study, where it took women with breast cancer, thousands of women who had breast cancer, and they followed them for more than a decade, and they found that those who ate dinner earlier, they didn't eat a better diet. They didn't eat less calories. They just finished eating dinner earlier, so they had a 13-hour window of not eating between the end of dinner and the start of breakfast. And they had a 36% reduction in breast cancer recurrence just from finishing dinner a little earlier, an hour or two earlier. The less frequently you eat, and the more you eat less at night, when you eat dinner earlier, a lighter dinner, going to bed on an empty stomach, extending the catabolic window, have more time for the body to repair and heal without digesting food, because the body can't digest and absorb nutrients and detoxify and repair and remove toxins and heal itself at the same time. It does best when it's not eating. The longer you live not eating, I should say this, the longer you live in the catabolic phase, the longer you live. You got that? You want to say that? Let's say it together. The longer you live in the catabolic phase, the longer you live. What the hell does that mean? What does it mean? Right. It means eat and then don't eat for as long as possible till you eat again. That's the opposite of what Americans are teaching you. Because, right, I taught you this already earlier today. Remember I told you that when I'm going to eat a little less calories, my metabolism is going to slow down, right? The average American wants to speed up their metabolic rate so they can eat more food and not get fat. The Nutritarian, who wants to live to be over 100 years old, understands that we want to slow down our metabolic rate so we can eat less food and not get too thin. Did you follow that? The goal is maintain your strength, maintain your size, be fit with as little food as possible. That's the secret to a long life that's free of cancer. You guys understanding this? It's the opposite of what, like the paleo, what people are taught. Almost every diet out there is wrong. Doesn't make any sense at all. They're appealing to people's desire to go after a gimmick, a fad, a hook, a trick, right? Eat more food and still be thin. Eat whatever you want. All the bread and all the crap you want. Stuff yourself and still be thin. Isn't that what the message is, right? Take this magic pill, or do this combination of cutting out fat or cutting out eat more protein, eat less protein, eat low fat, control just one macronutrient, get the other three, all these crazy things. Be a ketogenic diet. That's going to make you live longer, right? Because you're going to be not eating any glucose and you're going to be restricting all sugar, and it's going to put your body in an acidotic state to increase the aging process and age tissues. And so. But it's okay. It's a gimmick or a fad because it cut your weight down a little bit because it raised your metabolic rate. Insanity. Almost every diet is insane out there, except this is simple, right? Simple, straightforward. People don't like this message, though. They don't like the message, eat healthy, and you're going to live longer, right? They don't want to have to eat healthy. They want a gimmick or a trick. They'd rather eat all the meat you want. But you're going to be fine because we poured it with coconut oil. We fried it in coconut oil. You're going to be fine now. But it's a special type of coconut oil you have to buy. The high MCT coconut oil. With another $500 worth of supplements you're going to take.